ships at sea, it is well established that the buck stops with the captain. The captain is responsible for everything that happens on the ship, including, most importantly, the safety of everyone on board that ship, including the passengers. We're here today because the captain of the Conception, Nehl Boylan, utterly failed in those duties. There's a saying, the captain goes down with the ship, and that saying reflects the fact that the captain must safeguard the safety of all the passengers and crew of the ship. This, Nehl Boylan failed to do. As a result of his failures, 34 people, 33 passengers, and 1 crew member passed away and died. This tragedy did not have to happen. It could have been avoided. The rules required the captain to have what's known as a roving patrol. That means there should have been someone walking the ship at all hours to look out for dangers, such as a fire. If the captain had done that simple thing, which the rules require, this tragedy could have been avoided. The rules also required the captain train the crew in fighting fires and using the equipment on the ship. This ship had not 1 but 2 different fire stations with powerful hoses and pumps connected to the ocean with a limitless supply of water to fight a fire. But the captain failed to train the crew, and those pumps were never used. He also had a requirement under the rules to use the intercom system to let others on the ship know that he was abandoning the ship, so that the passengers would have a chance to fight for themselves and fight for their lives, and this again, he failed to do. Instead, this captain, instead of being the last one down on the ship, was the first one off the ship. He dove off the ship, ordered the remaining crew off the ship, and failed to do his duties to protect the passengers and that 1 crew member. Because of these failures, 34 people died. These victims of this tragedy did not have to pass away. These victims were children. These victims were parents. These victims were husbands and wives. These victims were brothers and sisters. They were loved ones of countless people. Today's verdict will not bring those loved ones back. It will not heal the wounds. It will not undo the travesty that occurred as a result of this defendant's conduct. But it does bring some measure of vindication. Vindication to the victims themselves who passed away as a result of the captain's actions. Vindication to the families who throughout this process have shown incredible courage to demand justice. And vindication to know that the person responsible for this tragedy will be held accountable, criminally accountable for his actions. Now, I want to thank the people responsible for this result. That includes the Assistant United States Attorneys from my office, the U.S. Attorney's Office from the Central District of California. That is AUSA's Mark Williams, Brian Fairstein, Matt O'Brien, and Juan Rodriguez. I also want to thank the law enforcement agencies that worked on this case, both worked to recover the evidence, worked to try to help the victims in this case, and worked on this criminal prosecution. That includes the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Coast Guard Investigative Service, the ATF, the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department, the Ventura County Fire Department, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and law enforcement throughout the Santa Barbara and Ventura area. Because of their hard work, the result today, which as I said, will not heal the wounds, but will bring some vindication to the victims, has taken place. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
This prosecution was fraught with some missteps early on. The dismissal of the indictment, filed with just 1 charge instead of
strongly disagree with the idea that this prosecution was fraught with missteps.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
This charge, which was brought today, involved Seaman's manslaughter. To our knowledge, the first time it's ever been charged in our district. So the first time any judges have dealt with this statute in our district. It's also just a handful of times that this statute has been used in our entire country. We brought the charges we thought appropriate. We had disagreement from the court. We revised the charges and superseded on account of that, and brought the charges which we thought were appropriate based on the evidence. I don't believe I would characterize those as missteps. I believe I would characterize those as persistence by the trial team. Next question.
What are you going to ask for in terms of sentencing?
The statutory maximum sentence as called for under this statute is 10 years imprisonment. The actual sentence will be decided by the court. It's the court's responsibility to decide the sentence. We will look at the facts and circumstances to determine what we recommend, but at this point, I anticipate seeking the statutory maximum sentence.
Now, some people said it was a misstep by the judge to even dismiss the first indictment. How did the second indictment differ from that? It was the same statute that was charged, right?
So I will not comment on missteps. What I will say is that this is the first time, to my knowledge, the statute was brought in this district. We brought the charges we thought appropriate. The court made the rulings it thought appropriate, and we reacted and persevered in this prosecution.
Can you just talk about what's the next step? Can he appeal?
The next step in this case is to have a sentencing. Sentencing will take place on February 8th of 2024. At that point, we will seek and recommend an appropriate sentence, and the court will impose the sentence it deems appropriate. After that, the defendant will have the opportunity to appeal his or her sentence and conviction. Yes.
Can you talk about how the U.S. Attorney's Office dealt with the large number of victims affected by this and their families, and how you work to keep in communication with them through the trial?
At the end of the day, our work is victim-centered. Everything we do at the U.S. Attorney's Office is with victims in mind. That is the core of our mission. That's the core of the Department of Justice's mission. So that was certainly something that was first and foremost in our minds. We remain steadfastly committed to the victims. We have a unit led by an excellent individual, Allison Stafford, whose responsibility is dealing with the victims, and we'll continue to work with the victims to make sure that their rights are vindicated. Any other questions?
Can we get your name and spelling, please?
My name is Martin Estrada, Martin, M-A-R-T-I-N, Estrada, E-S-T-R-A-D-A. I'm the United States Attorney based here in Los Angeles. Thank you very much.
Thank you.